source is our foster families. Our third main referral source is other agencies' foster families. Because people go up to them and say, wow, you're fostering, that's great. How? Different agency this time. I'm here, I'm glad you're here. How'd you guys find out about us? Just through the system of fostering?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
Did you adopt through El Paso County?
No, we actually we did that about 5 years ago.
Do you know who your caseworker was?
Her name was Sue Beatty.
Sue Beatty, okay.
Yes.
The reason I asked, my daughter is a caseworker for Larimer County.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and she's in the adoption and foster care unit right now.
Oh, that's awesome.
So every once in a while, I find out that people know where they had her.
Yeah.
How old your? Is it daughter?
We actually adopted 2 boys.
Two boys.
They right now are 5 and 8.
You want something? So
Sure.
Someone call my daughter. We went to the Bronco
sure.
game last night, and I have to call her and give her some instructions because I took some of her stuff home. So we had to make plans. I want to ask her if she remembers you guys.
Sure.
Very good to work with.
That's
Yeah,
good.
it was wonderful.
The only real positive experience we've had was through them.
Yeah, it was wonderful. They were
Who were
great.
you guys with before here? For Hope Run?
We were with Bethany Christian
Okay.
Services.
Yeah, with Maddie Nodine and
Yes.
who's your home soup?
Jill Bradley.
Jill Bradley. That was a while ago.
It was. Yes.
Jill Bradley started her career with Hope and Home like 15 years ago.
Really?
She was right out of school, and then she went over to Bethany. Then she went over to Savio.
That's right.
And now she's a casework supervisor at the department.
Oh, is she really? Oh, I didn't know that. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, so you'll see her again at some point. But you won't see her. You'll work with caseworkers that work for her.
Sure.
Actually, caseworkers that work for someone that works for her.
Yeah.
So you probably never see her again.
Yeah.
It's very different than Bethany. I mean, Bethany would fit in
We've
this room.
noticed already. Yes. Much different.
Just a very different kind of mandate, a different.
Sure.
How about you guys? How'd you hear about us?
That you had a strong call. It was just limited, if any, need for.
Right.
And we were able to make it work in Steamboat Springs, but when we moved, that was actually one of the reasons we chose Colorado Springs, was to come live here to see you guys. So.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So don't let us down.
Yeah, I gotta have your name on. I gotta keep track of you guys. It's like, wow, no pressure. How about you guys in the back?
I heard about Hope and Home through a girl in my Bible study at Woodland Valley Church.
Oh, good. Is it Grafted Vines or the Bible study?
I'm sorry?
Through Grafted Vines there?
Not through Grafted Vines, no.
Okay.
Just a women's Bible study.
Great. Who was that?
That you know? Tara and Cliff Hunter. Right.
Yep. Yeah, we Tracy Wilcox and some others. Do you know Tracy at all?
Yes.
Yeah, we have some friends over there that are in the Grafted Vines group, and we have some fair amount of families of ours, as you can imagine, over there. So that's great. Well, I'm glad you guys are here.
Yeah, thank you.
How about you?
Google.
Google. What did you like on Google?
Well,
Did you move? Like they did from Steamboat Springs?
Oh, no.
Did you like move from another city to be part of us?
Actually, we're Army, so we just moved.
But you did move. Okay.
And we knew that this was somewhere in our future, but we landed here, and all of a sudden we just felt prompted that this was the time.
Yeah.
So Scott, my husband, who's online with us today, he found you guys on the web, and he said, you should check this out. And I watched a couple of the videos, and what was impressive to us was the sense of community, the open door, getting other foster families together for events and things like that, and continuing education as well. Really helped me feel like this is the place, because we can confidently do this.
Oh, good. Well, welcome. Are you guys on base?
No, we're off post up in the Stetson Hills area.
Oh, great. No, that's a good place to visit, but man.
Yeah, very different.
I can't deal with the heat.
And the humidity.
The humidity.
Combined, yes.
Humidity, heat, and bugs.
Yeah.
Are all things I don't do well with. I like, yep. What's the joke about, what's the what is it? The state bird of South Carolina.
Is the
Mosquito.
mosquito? Amen. That's terrible.
Well, I'm glad you're here. Welcome.
Thank you.
And how about you guys in the back? How did you guys find out about us?
When we moved here, when we first moved here, we just tracked you guys down because we had started it in Oregon. And then we were going to move again, so we didn't think it was the right time. And then you posted that blurb on our neighborhood.
For our neighbors.
Okay, but now it's the time.
And then you guys, we met briefly during the tour. Right. Yeah, that's great. I love that.
Yeah.
Where do you guys live? You live close to here,
In
right?
Peregrine,
You live up in Peregrine. What street?
Blodgett,
Oh, yeah.
Blodgett.
You know Mark Francis? I know, it's a shot in the dark. He lives on the really big, like, circular house when you turn on the Blodgett. He was one of the builders up there. He's a friend of mine. It's like right on the corner. Oh, yeah, maybe it's not right on the corner, but close to the corner. There's a house that's got this big curved entrance. The wall is curved.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think they have a lot next to Big Lisa Chapel. There's a lot next to them. No, okay, then it's a different
Yeah.
house.
This is Mark. He's a lawyer. Yeah. He built this huge house and he was married and he got divorced right after he built it. So he moved into this enormous house just by himself. Yeah. It's probably more than he wants me to share with you guys. Okay, I'm getting your way.
First thing I'm going to say when I
So you're Mark, yeah. Hi, you're Mark. So Cindy and the girls left you. Yeah, that'd be really good.
I'm totally kidding.
He has a Viper. I don't know if you see that. He's got this really fancy Viper car. I just went out and bought it one day.
And he's upper Blodgett?
No, I think,
Oh,
I don't know where on Blodgett. I just know, I know how to get there.
Peregrine? Okay.
I used to live on Sawback. So,
Okay.
yeah, that was right around the corner from you guys.
A bunch of Malibu sports cars.
Yeah. Well, I'll leave you guys alone. I'm going to give you, did we figure this out?
Yeah.
You're
it's all
on.
Steady. It's ready and set. All right. Thanks,
Bye, guys.
Ross.
Nice to meet you.
Bye.
I'll teach you class and do it at some point.
Yep. Hi, everyone. Sorry for the delay. All right, so we're gonna get started. Did anyone finish their forms that we were just going over? Pretty much everyone? Sweet. Great. I'll collect those at the end of the night. So this is Core 2, the class on administration of Volume 7, Rules and Regulation. So it's a bunch of rules, cans and can't do's, and paperwork, and it's really not a fun class. And I just recently found out that we all say the same thing during class, like, this is going to be the hardest class of them all. So just to say, they're all hard. But this is hard in a different way. Like, it's just a lot of paperwork, and you're not going to remember any of it. No, you'll remember some of it. But I don't expect you guys to leave tonight with your noggin full of everything we go over today. Everything we're going over today is basically what you will become masters of. And your home supervisor, when you get your first placement, they're here to remind you guys about how to do things and walk you through the process. Who's good with paperwork? Who is the paperwork guru of the couples? You, women so far? Women, wow. Across the board, this is going to be fun at the end of the night because we're going to do our quiz, Battle of the Sex Style. So anyway, let's see. So you guys have your packets, right? Shoot. I think I forgot to give you guys something, so let me pull it out here. Okay. I believe in your packet I forgot to give you something. In the email, let's see, someone sent me their house rules. Who was it that sent me their house rules today? You guys.
Yeah.
Yes, and they were great. They're fine.
Okay.
So you're good. But I was thinking, I was like, I don't think I even mentioned anything about house rules.
We've just done it so many times, so I knew you were going to ask for
That's
it.
impressive. Okay, so in your packet, you see the forms you filled out, right? And then there's the exact same copies that has the sticky note that says your copies. Those are just for your reference, so to keep in your file, okay? The next page is the house rule instructions. Typically, I send this before class as homework, and I totally dropped the ball. So I'm extending some grace in the sense that you guys can have until next week to fill those out and bring them in. You can shoot an email to me, it's sufficient. And so really with the house rules, something to keep in mind, obviously when you do house rules, you know, structure and consistency is important for these kids, but also, you know, think of it, these are the things you go over with the kids when they first enter your home. So you don't want to overwhelm them. Obviously, instilling values and rules in your home over time is ideal, but you're not going to be able to cram that all in one sheet. So don't think of the house rules as this is an end-all be-all. It's just more of your family philosophy. So I'll kind of give you a couple examples of some past rules. We never go hungry. We look for the best in each other. We are honest with each other. It is okay to share our feelings with each other. We use gentle hands. People say no hitting, that kind of stuff. We are patient. We are slow to our tempers and become angry with one another. We are kind to one another. We recognize and celebrate one another's strengths and gifts. I kind of think of these like Hobby Lobby signs, you women, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, so we forgive one another. We respect each other's privacy, space, and needs. We tell the truth. We share one another. Make yourself at home. Let us help you feel safe. Different things. So just keep some of those in mind as you make your house rules. And of course, guys, call me if you have any questions or email me, all right? What's the next thing in your packet? I think is your master binder, right? Okay, well, this is where I left something out. This is a take-home. It's a how to prepare for a facility checklist. Obviously, you don't need to worry about this right now because you're so early in the training process, but as you go through the home study process, one of the very last pieces of the puzzle is getting your home prepared for when these kids come into it and how to like put in safety plugs or safety gates or window well covers. So this is a list of how to prepare your home. My piece of advice to you guys is do not wait to get this started. Do it as soon as possible because we want to be able to ask you guys as soon as we get ready to assign a home study writer if you feel about or 100% ready to do this. Because what we have found is in the home study process, we kind of get a little bit of straggling in it because people aren't quite ready, and that's okay. So look this over whenever you guys get time, and then call me if you have any questions about anything. This is all per volume said. Didn't count right. Okay, let's see. Perfect. I had just one more left. All right, so all that aside, are we ready to start the bulk of our class?
Yes.
You thought we were already doing that, didn't you? All right, so we're gonna go over this master binder copy here, this little thick packet. So this here is it's all the blank forms that you'll need to fill out when you get placements. And so probably the best thing you can do is keep this in a binder by itself, and then when kids are placed in your home, to kind of keep track of the paperwork, keep a binder per sibling, couple, or per child. Does that make sense? And as you fill out your monthly stuff, you can put it in the folder and just keep track of it. And we'll go over multiple reasons why that's super beneficial as we go through this. And like I said, I don't expect you to remember all this, but I will say with complete and utter sincerity that this class is not to be taken lightly. This is not a suggestion. This is an absolute requirement. These are not to be taken with a grain of salt. I don't want you to just put half of an effort into these forms. I want you to fill them out wholeheartedly. It makes all the world of difference for documentation purposes, to be protection for you guys and protection for the children, okay? And I'll try to remember some examples of how that's beneficial as we go through it as well. And like I said, please don't hesitate to interrupt if you're confused about anything or if you have any questions at all, okay? So we're gonna get started. So, the first little piece of paper here is just kind of a rundown of what we're going over. So we're going to go over section 1, which is the initial paperwork that you fill out upon placement. So when kids are placed in your home, these forms are to be completed within 24 hours and turned into your home supervisor. Now again, your first placement especially is going to be a whirlwind because you're going to have to do these forms, right? You're going to have to schedule appointments. You have to readjust your home and your family dynamic. You have to get to know the kid, know their fears and what makes them feel safe. There's a lot going on, and so we understand that. So I encourage you to lean on your home supervisor during those first 2 weeks so that way you can get the help and guidance that you need. And so when they come out to your home and you haven't filled out the paperwork, give them a heads up so they know to come out with the forms and help you fill them out, okay? And also you have mentoring families assigned to you when you guys get certified too, so that'll help hopefully. So in the initial paperwork we have a couple things. We have the fire drill here. This here, so you'll see it lists different types of drills. This is our overall form we would use for everything. So when children are initially placed in your home, let's say March they were placed in your home, even though it says flood, our recommendation is for the initial emergency drill, just go ahead and do a fire drill because that's pretty much the most common type of emergency that occurs in your home. And with the kids who are in a new environment, we want them to know how to escape your home in case of a fire. Does it make sense? But otherwise, every month you would do what it says normally. Does it make sense? So you'll put the date, the exact date of when you completed the drill. You'll put the participants. Obviously, we understand sometimes that, you know, one parent might be at work, so the other foster parent might be home with all the kids. As long as all the foster kids are there and one of the foster parents, that's sufficient for participant involvement. Of course, we encourage at least a couple times throughout the year both foster parents to be present. Plan of escape, start time, end time, meeting place. Any questions about it? Does it make sense? Yeah? Okay. All right, so another thing you do within 24 hours of placement is the admission inventory. This here is just kind of a rundown of what the child comes with. You know, a lot of times they may not come with anything, so document what they do come on, whether it's clothes on their back or a little tiny trash bag full of stuff or not. Even if under miscellaneous, like you might get mom's bra in there or something, or like a random left shoe or something, you know, you can put those on there if you want. So quickly take a look at this. Let me know if you have any questions. All something you guys have done before too. Okay.
Can we have the kids sign it?
Yeah, so thank you for bringing that up. So youth signature, this is for if like the children are old enough to comprehend and write their name. If they're like babies, put too young. Yeah, you just put too young. And you're always the witness. So you're witnessing what's coming into your home, right? So you're gonna sign there. Any other questions about that form? Okay. All right, so the next thing is foster children's rights. This is a rundown of what the child is entitled to. Go home, read it over, but this applies to every single child that comes into your home. Again, that same rule applies for signature as it does at age of comprehension. You know, go over what their rights are with the children when they enter into your home. Like let's say you have a teen, obviously you want them to understand what their rights are. A baby's not going to know, so you don't have to read it. But it's good to read yourself so you can get a refresher. And then you'll sign it, and then the child signs it or it says too young. I'm sorry I'm going to annoy you guys. After every single form, I'm going to probably ask, do you have any questions? So are we good? Okay. All right, next thing is child admission checklist. This is to be filled out per child. So let's say you have a sibling group of 3. You'll need one for all 3 children with all of these forms, okay? And so here, you'll do a tour of the foster home, obviously. You want them to know the layout of your home. They need to know where you're sleeping, where the bathroom is, where the kitchen is, the food. Instructions of fire safety, that's the drill, so you'll do that. Review of house rules and discipline in the home. A lot of times these kids come from environments where maybe going in the fridge in the middle of the night meant that they were going to get spanked with a belt. And so maybe they don't know that that doesn't apply in other homes. So you want to explain to them, here are our rules. Also, in addition, here's the food, help yourself. You know, if you break a rule as a family, whatever it is, we do do-overs, we do time-ins, we do time-outs, loss of privilege, stuff like that. Which typically those things will maybe be discussed after the first night. You know, you want them to settle in first before you start going over that, but anyway. And you'll review child rights and grievance procedure. That was that form we just went over. You'll complete the inventory of their belongings. And then these last two here, receipt of authorization for medical care. It's a form that's typically given by the caseworker, and to be honest, you probably won't get that when the child's placed in your home in emergency situations. That will usually be given to you, and you'll probably get it through us. We usually ask for it from the placement team within 48 hours, business hours. So with that, you can just, if you still have the form when your home soup comes out, fill it out based on when you got it. Otherwise, just put NA. Does that make sense? And so this form is just kind of a summary of saying you guys have the right to meet the basic needs of this child. So making medical appointments like dental, vision, physicals, stuff like that. Okay? And then the receipt of health passport, you'd be lucky if you get those. Those are typically, it's like a folder of any past medical history of each child that comes into your care. However, those only typically come with children who are through transitional placements. You know, those that have already been in foster homes, they won't typically come with emergency placements. And so, you know, we do try to ask the caseworker, of course, what's the medical history, what do you know, any past allergies, you know, just to try to prepare you guys, but we don't always get that information, as we've probably all discussed there in our tour, right? So then you'll sign it. The home supervisor will sign it once we receive it, and the child will sign it according to age. Any questions? Okay, great. This wasn't on that little first checklist, but this is something we've kind of recently implemented. It's a child's permission form, and it's a rundown of activities. You know, a lot of times we get families who are super active and, you know, different activities, and so we want to just be able to get that permission on the front end to prepare you guys, like hiking, obviously. Some of the things that people don't think that we would need permission for, we added on here, like immunizations and haircuts, because, you know, though these children come into your home, parental rights are still intact, so they have the right to say yes or no to immunizations and haircuts as well. And, you know, a lot of times haircuts can be associated with culture, so, you know, we want to be able to honor that and respect it. So if you guys want to take a quick gander at this and let me know, is there anything in addition to these things that you may have a question about? Yeah.
So, like hiking just locally, that's something that you still need permission if you're just going out?
Yeah, just because hiking, you know, it depends on what kind of hike. You know how they have easy, moderate, hard hiking, you know, those kinds of things that kids may fall and sprain their ankle, or maybe you're going hiking on the side of a mountain kind of thing.
So, is it per incident?
No, this is just an overall coverage.
Overall, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. This is for any future activities that you in those specific areas.
Okay.
And this isn't something that we would receive like right when we get the child. This is something the parent fills out.
Well, yes. So what usually happens is either you guys hand it to the caseworker, or you just talk to your home supervisor and say, hey, we wanted to go hiking this coming weekend. Can you get permission? And that'll trigger something, and our home supervisor just email the form over to the caseworker. Okay. And so either the caseworker and or the parent will fill it out. So we put this in here on the front end because we don't want to have it, we don't want the permission thing be the reason why a child misses out on an experience. So we want to try to get that taken care of as soon as possible.
Yeah, so before, when we did this earlier, like, we also had to have authorization if we went out of town or did vacations or anything like that. Is that still the
So
case?
if you, yes
Okay.
and no. So if you take an El Paso County child, you have to get permission to take them out of county.
Okay.
And in that instance, it's pretty easy. You know, usually caseworkers just say, yeah, just shoot us an email and let us know where you're going, because they need to know where their kids are at all
Sure.
times. And it's typically the caseworker and the guardian ad litem, the kid's attorney.
Yeah.
If it's out of state, you have to get court permission.
Gotcha.
And with that being said, luckily these days judges are more likely to approve the permission because they want the kid to have the experience going with you. Okay.
And so unlike that sheet we're looking at, that is on a case by case.
Yes. Yep. But let's say your mom lives like in Denver, or maybe you guys go to Children's Museum all the time, you have a membership. If you travel to one place consistently, foster parents try to get blanket permission to go to that particular place. So sort of like this, but case by case still. And so you'll just shoot the GAL and the caseworker an email and just say, hey, we go to Children's Museum, can we just get blanket permission? He'll either say yes, or just let us know each time you go.
And that's just like an email or a phone call?
Yeah.
It's just like a verbal
Yeah.
agreement?
Yep. All right. So we're moving on to section 2. Any questions about the initial placement paperwork? Okay. It's fun, guys, right? All right. So section 2 is the initial medical stuff. So this, we have the admission physical that needs to be scheduled within 2 weeks of placement. So see this front form here? It goes along with this form underneath it called the over-the-counter drug form. That's what you take to the initial physical appointment. So of course these kids come with Medicaid, and sometimes, well, a lot of times it just depends on the year and the time and all, but it might be hard to get kids scheduled into an appointment with a Medicaid provider in a timely manner. So what we tell people is a couple recommendations. First and foremost, obviously, as soon as you get the kid placed with you, that very day, though it may be chaotic, make it a priority to try to schedule a physical, okay? Because you see this part up here in the left-hand corner where it says date appointment made. If, let's say, the child's placed today on the 16th and then you made the appointment on the 17th, even though it's not until November 17th, then at least it shows the state that you've made your due diligent effort to make it possible. Now, me telling you that does not give you permission just to call one provider and call it a day. You know, make your reasonable efforts of calling multiple providers. But even with that being said, what we have found that's usually more helpful is that when foster parents get connected on our Facebook page once you get certified, ask other foster parents who they go to, because then that's usually the quickest and more efficient way to find a provider who can meet that need sooner rather than later. And sometimes your own pediatrician will make exceptions for foster parents and see kids. Not tri-care people, of course, but yeah. Yeah, but sometimes they do. Does anyone know if your pediatrician will make an exception?
Ours did.
That's good.
Yeah.
Do you know if yours would? No? You don't know?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, hopefully they will. And then you guys don't have one. You don't have one, I'm assuming, right now, right? So maybe Facebook would be great. I mean, we have a list of providers, but sometimes it changes quite frequently, so it might not always be accurate.
I work at Peak Vista, and they have same-day appointments. They take kids, no matter what. They don't turn away kids.
Really?
Yeah, so for all physicals. Yeah,
That's really, because when they call sometime, that just happened?
It just happened. Yes, they don't turn away a kid. So you can take it same day or that week. But
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to let the home supervisors know that.
Yeah, there's 26 clinics in the area. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
And it's Peak Vista Community Health Centers, yeah. And they only, not only, but they primarily serve Medicaid.
Okay.
Yeah.
However, for an instance, obviously, where, with the exception of that, that's great. So if their normal business hours, they can go to Peak Vista. But let's say it's like after 6 o'clock, and you just got a placement, and you just are so concerned about a cough that a new kid has in your home, you can go to urgent care and just go ahead and at least have them seen for that. You don't have to wait for the physical to have any of those needs met. Which kind of brings me to my next point, the over-the-counter med form here. You're not allowed to give medication to any foster child whatsoever until you get this form filled out. And so that includes any kind of cough medicine, pain reliever, diaper rash cream, cough syrup, first aid, stuff like Neosporin. Because obviously the state has implemented these things for a reason, because you don't know when these kids come to your home if there's any allergies, and this is really to protect you guys and the foster kids. So if a doctor makes a call like, yes, you can give Neosporin, that doesn't fall on you if they have an allergic reaction. Does that make sense? So though it may be a pain to have to wait to even give them anything, it's really for overall protection and coverage. In addition, what I was just saying about the urgent care visit, if the child has an awful cough and you just really just want to give them cough syrup, luckily these days urgent cares are pretty in and out, and you just bring them to there, and then they can quickly say, the doctor can say on the form, can give child cough syrup, and that's fine.
So what about if we do like I give my kids honey for their cough? Mm-hmm. That's not a medication.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like using a humidifier.
That's okay as long as it doesn't have like chemical stuff. The thing that's kind of questionable these days is essential oils. You know, though it's very natural, you just don't know what kind of allergic reaction that kids may have to it. Those kinds of things, you know, to be mindful about. And if you, of course, if you have questions about particular things along the way, you can ask your home supervisor.
Okay.
Do you guys have a question? Anyone else? Okay. I didn't get as much fight on that as I normally do. All right. I'm not afraid of a little fight, though, if you guys have it, okay? Okay. All right, next form is the dental form. And this one you have a little more of a grace period. You have 8 weeks upon placement to get this done. However, you know, of course, if the child's crying and they're like, one time I can give you an example when I was a home supervisor on call. Someone called me in the middle of the night and the child was just crying all night, could not sleep. The poor thing was just sick. And of course, the dentist's office isn't open in the middle of the night. And so they go to the emergency room and just to see if it's something other than their teeth. They're pretty sure it's their teeth that's causing the pain. Anyway, they're like, yeah, we're pretty sure it's the teeth. Everything else has been ruled out. So then the next day they were able to schedule an emergency dental appointment to have her come in and get the work that she needed done. So in those instances, obviously, you want to be able to get that done. But you have 8 weeks typically. And this is for ages 3 and up. The exception to that is if you have like a, let's say a 1.5-year-old and they have teeth and it's bottle rotted, then you know you want to take them to the dentist anyway and get checked out. So any questions about that?
So like if, I understand like all this is, if we get like a new placement, but let's say we're getting a child that's already been in a foster home and they already had a dental exam. Like, that's
a great question. Yeah. So if they've already been in a foster home and they're just simply transitioning foster homes, no. You're absolutely not required to do that.
Okay.
You are required to ensure that you are meeting their needs.
Sure.
So let's say we are able to get all the doctor forms and you know that their last dental appointment was just 6 months ago,
then of course
you'll have to do the follow-up. But let's say we don't get anything. Better safe than sorry, let's go ahead and schedule it.
Okay.
But typically we usually get those forms if they're coming from another agency. Okay. It's a great question. Others. So moving on to vision. Vision, same thing, you have 8 weeks. However, I didn't mention this on the physical form. There's a little small part on the first page in bold lettering. It says, is optometry exam recommended by the pediatrician? The doctor, if they're not doing a crappy job, they should be going through that form thoroughly. But don't be afraid to be Papa and Mama Bear and making sure that doctor is doing the full physical and including that part about the optometry where it says yes or no. Because if he or she doesn't circle anything, then you'll still have to schedule a vision exam. If they circle no, then you don't have to. If you want a second opinion, you're more than welcome to schedule one. Does that make sense, all that? So the vision exam, you know, that's to be completed within 8 weeks. Okay? Section 3 is monthly paperwork. This is all due at the monthly home visit, and let's say you have a placement in October. The October paperwork wouldn't be due until November, because obviously you need the whole month to complete it all, and so we collect it retroactively. So this first page is just 3 different examples of 3 different drills here, so you can look it over and you know, see the different types. But I'm just going to go ahead and ask, though it may seem like a silly, ridiculous question, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page, because believe it or not, we've had some folks who just haven't been able to do an appropriate drill for the appropriate type of emergency. So where do we meet for a tornado? Basement. Thank you.
In the street.
Okay, flood. That was one of them.
No.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, you won't see
Okay,
it.
flood.
Upstairs.
Up high. Yes. Okay, and then fire.
Outside.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, just making sure, everyone. You know, obviously with the fire drill, you want to be far enough away from the house, but at a safe distance where they're not in the street. So mailbox is a typical place to meet. Is there any question about your particular layout of your land that you may have a question about that you wonder in terms of a meeting place for any of these?
So this only, unrelated to that real quick, this only has 3 filled out. I was under the impression you had to do it monthly.
You do, yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
if this was completely filled out, there would have been one for every month.
Yes, so this is just giving you different examples. And so what our foster parents do is sometimes they just do one, turn it in, one and turn it in. Or if you want to do a couple of months and turn it in, because you'll run out of space. Unless you have teeny tiny writing and it's super legible, which is rare, then you can make it work, but really that's what they do. So however you want to do it. Okay? And then this is just a blank copy, just so you have ready to go, make copies of it. Does anyone have a copy machine at home? You do. You guys do. No.
Does anyone have a copy of that?
A copy machine at home.
A copy machine,
Yeah.
yes.
And so you can copy these, or our website's going to have all the forms. So if you just need to open it and print it from the website, you can do that too. Yeah.
Just a quick question. I noticed they've got their 6-year-old up at 10:40 at night. Is that like, are they looking at that to see?
Everyone wants that out. No, that's not required. However, it is good to kind of practice
Well,
a nightly one, like
at 3
once.
o'clock every, what is that going to train? Like, you want to kind of...
You want to break it up. You want to do different times of the day to kind of break up the disorientation they may experience during an emergency. Yeah. But everyone's like, really? Do we have to do it like at 12 at midnight? And I'm like, no, but you know, maybe once a year do that. Give it a try. So I was going to tell you guys the forms online. All these are handwritten forms. The exceptions that are digital forms you can fill out and it gets submitted online is if you go to our website under all the forms, there's monthly progress notes and the birth family contact forms and the incident reporting. You can fill those out digitally and turn those in online. So we'll kind of talk about what all those forms are as we go through. So then the next one is the monthly progress notes. So this is a rundown of how the child's doing each month. And this again is per child.
Lindsay?
Thanks, Kalani. So on the part where it says medical appointments, where you don't need to give a summary of everything on there, just kind of dentist appointments on this date. And areas of progress and areas of concern, you want to be able to summarize how are they doing academically, spiritually, physically, emotionally, developmentally, anything you can record. And that kind of shows the state that you guys, your efforts that you're making as foster parents. It also shows us what all, it kind of reflects if the case moves a certain direction, it kind of reflects how the child's doing in your home, and may be super helpful. And it especially helps your home supervisor to make those notes in their monthly reports. I think the biggest thing that's super beneficial that I used to encourage my foster parents about is when we would have our monthly home visits, or they call me and they're just really having a hard week, and the child is on their 10th meltdown of the day, and it's just like, I don't know what's going on, I feel so discouraged, I don't know if this is even making a difference. You know, you can, maybe you guys have experienced those times already before, so it's just hard to know the difference you're making when you're in the battlefield every single day. And you know, it's kind of on a smaller scale of an example, like when you have your own kids and they're growing, and maybe you don't notice it as much because you see them every day, you know, but then maybe a relative comes to visit and they're like, oh my goodness, look how much they've grown, it's so crazy. And even as home supervisors are so lucky that we get to come in once a month minimally and see the child and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe the difference. And like, really? No, really? That much of a difference? Like, you think we're just blowing smoke up your butts or something, but really, it really makes all the world a difference. And so when you get in those moments where you're in the battlefield every day and you feel so discouraged, it's really good to, I'll tell you, go back through your monthly progress notes if you're doing them right, and look at the progress you made, because then you really will see, like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. I remember when that used to be a struggle and now it's not. And it's really helpful. So that's another great example to document your efforts along the way. Okay? And then of course you'll sign at the bottom. Alright, so the next part is the medication log. So there's an example of a medication log we give and a blank copy underneath it. So the medication log is, it logs any kind of administration of medication throughout the month, whether it's over the counter or prescribed. So you want to list the name of the med here. You want to give the exact time and the dose of what the medication is prescribed as, or what says on the bottle, and then initial whoever it is that's giving the medication. So let's say foster mom's the only one who is administering the meds, then it's okay for all of her initials to be the same, and she's the only one signing it or initialing at the top right here. But when you turn it in at the end of the month. But if foster mom and dad are administering the meds, then we'll both want both of your initials. That makes sense. And it's very, very important that you guys are super diligent in filling these out every single time you administer the meds, and doing it exactly the time that you administer the meds, not 8 p.m. across the board, because that looks super fishy to the state. And you know, for example 1. Example 2 is that I'll give you, this is a really bad horror story, but it's probably good that you hear it, just to kind of give an example of just how important it is that you understand the severity of filling out this paperwork appropriately. We once had a family and they were so wonderful, great, super on top of paperwork, type A personality, like foster mom knew how to fill out paperwork. They took in a medically fragile little boy. He was about, I think he was 2. His name was Xander, and he, sweet little boy, but he had a lot of issues, and you know, there was a lot of diagnosis that he had, and there was an expectation that he may not be able to live a full life, and he ended up one night passing in his sleep in the foster home. And foster dad went in on him to check on him. He wasn't breathing. He started CPR on him while foster mom was calling, 911. Next call after 911 was Hope and Home. Hope and Home called the caseworker. It was a huge deal, obviously. And the ambulance came, but by the time the ambulance came, they pronounced him dead. And foster dad did not give up trying to resuscitate him the entire time. So the ambulance showed up and took over, and then they went to the hospital with the child. And I think that's where he was pronounced dead, excuse me. And then there was detectives that showed up at the hospital along with Ross and Jackie and the home supervisor, the caseworker. Everyone was there at the hospital. It was a huge deal. And the detectives took the keys from foster parents, went out to their home. They took 1 million pictures of the crib. They took 1 million pictures of the medication log, all that. You know, they had to do their due diligence, ruling out homicide, of course. Despite the fact that we knew that this child had a lot of severe medical needs. It was a really sad time, though it was kind of expected. We didn't expect it that soon. And the child had a wedge in his bed, but the wedge was prescribed by the doctor. And luckily, the foster mom got the letter from the doctor, or the form that said wedges recommended for this child. And foster mom filled out that medication log every single day. Didn't miss any meds. She followed instructions, and the meds were locked up. Foster dad's CPR, because you know he had to use it. It was up to date. It was current, and so they really checked out everything. I mean, they did exactly what they needed to do. They listened to their home supervisor. And of course, something that severe, any kind of medical severity of a child has to be investigated by the county, or the state rather. So the state will come in and do a audit of the file, the paper file, to make sure everything paper-wise lines up with what happened. So they saw all the medication logs, they saw all the doctor forms, including the one on the wedge. There were no bumpers in the bed. Everything checked out, and so they were fine. Had Foster's, let's give you an example. Foster's dad CPR expired, and home supervisor had made several attempts to get that CPR, and when it expired, foster parents would have been founded, and we also would have been in trouble as an agency. And so, me telling you this, I'm not trying to scare you away or run you away, but you need to understand that this is not to be taken lightly, and do lean on your home supervisor. And nowadays, luckily, we have an entire department dedicated to auditing your files and making sure you're filling out your paperwork and you're filling it out accurately. So though you may turn in your progress note, and though it may be super frustrating if we contact you from our auditing department and say, hey, you forgot to sign this form, even though we've been bugging you about it, getting it in 3 months ago, you now forgot to sign it, so please sign it and turn it back in. So we're really looking out for you. It's extra protection for you. Okay. Any comments or questions about that? Okay, great. I hate telling that story.
So I have a question about medications. If a kid comes and let's say they are on a prescription medication, or whatever happens, and they come with that, am I allowed to give that to them without them seeing a physician first?
Yes, the caseworker will explain that to you if they bring the medication with them. Okay. And if you have concerns about should they be, or maybe I'll just double check, is this okay? You can check with the pediatrician when you schedule that physical. Okay. Yeah.
Does it come with, do we get instructions like they have inhalers and they're taken differently? Do we get instructions on how to do that, or how to
My understanding is that typically inhalers, don't they come with the paper on it that explain how it's taken? Should be. If it's not and it's questionable, that's what your home supervisor would need to help you with, is contacting the caseworker ASAP and getting that taken care of. Otherwise, you can go to urgent care if the caseworker's like, I don't know, then go to urgent care.
Yeah. I'm thinking of an inhaler in a backpack or something.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, because on the inhalers, the prescription instructions are on the box. That usually is
And it's not on the inhaler, right?
Not in the
Yes.
inhaler.
So in that instance, then, okay, I was thinking maybe there's a sticker on the inhaler, but if not, then yes, definitely ask the caseworker whenever they're placed with you, and yeah, kind of go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other questions about medication? Okay. All right. Birth family contact form here. This is a summary of, we want you to record how the child's doing before and after visitation with birth family. So if they have supervised visits, or if they have phone call or community visits, a letter, trying to think. The most common type of visits that you see, that you record, is the supervised visits. And later in the case, if it moves to, if the child is transitioning home, it may move from supervised to unsupervised, or community would pop in. So you'll just kind of record how's the child do before and after that visit. And those are really good records to keep for documentation purposes of if a caseworker is wanting to know for termination's sake how the child has been doing. It's good to refer back to those things.
Thank you. This is awesome.
Thanks, Kalani. Other questions about the birthday? This is another one of those forms you can do digitally online, okay? Oh, and there's a couple ways you can fill this form out. If you have a sibling group of 3, then you can do one child in each space for October 16th. Or you can do one child for 3 different dates. You know what I mean? You have the choice to do that.
Are all the visitations done at the visitation center?
No, I actually don't know where they're all at now, because Savio just recently closed.
Yeah.
Their contract got pulled. So I think DHS here on Garden of the Gods Family Visitation Center, which is down on Boulder. There's a place, I don't remember if it's part of Savio or not, but there's somewhere over there in Austin Bluffs, because I went and picked the kid up from a visit there. Can't remember. So there's different places. Not sure where. All right, we're going to move on to section 4 unless anyone has any questions about all that monthly stuff. So then this is the ongoing medical paperwork. This is also going to be collected each month as they come in. Let me look here. So this medical exam form, this form is for any other appointments other than physicals, right? So if the child's sick, that urgent care visit, any follow-ups, specialists even. So let's say they go to their initial physical and the doctor recommends that the child go and see a cardiologist, then you'll take this form. I tell foster families, best practice, because it's so easy to forget these at home, is whatever cars that you use to transport kids in, have a little folder under the seat that has blank copies of these, and that way you can bring them in with you and have the doctor fill them out. And on this form, there's even a place for medication prescribed, so that way it kind of kills 2 birds with 1 stone. We have the documentation of why the child was seen and what was the recommendation, plus the medication that was prescribed. We also will accept the copy of the leaflet or the prescription itself for medication. We will accept summaries of the visits. The doctors will print those out for you. Lindsay, what else? Is there anything else that you guys do that provide for documentation purposes?
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say.
Okay. All right. So, and then these medical forms, this is for any specialist, like I was saying,
Physical therapy, occupation.
No, that was the exception.
Okay.
So physical, occupation, speech, feeding therapy, we don't need those every single time the child goes.
I was going to ask.
So those are the exception. It would be good to at least have the initial form, but usually what they'll do is once an assessment is completed and you go to the initial appointment, they'll give you a summary printout. So we prefer that actually over that form for any of those therapeutic visits. Other questions about that form?
This one's right away.
I'm sorry?
This one you want right away?
Yeah, just for any normal appointments or specialists, but any kind of therapeutic,
You just put it in a file.
we don't even need a form for those.
Okay.
No. But it would be good if upon evaluation we get the summary of what they recommend.
Okay.
Yeah. Annual physical exam form. So physicals for foster children must be done annually. So you have to do those every year. Dental exams have to be done every 6 months. So this is pretty basic, right? All normal kids, this is pretty normal, right? Okay. And then vision, it's a year. So So you can use this annual physical form. You can also use the initial physical form, whichever one you want. Dental form looks pretty much the same. So this form will be used for any follow-ups, any cleanings, fillings, sealants. I guess I should add too, if a child needs something invasive, like any kind of numbing, if they need stitches, if they need surgery where they go under anesthesia, they will need consent from parents. So in those instances, we will need to, so a dental appointment will say, we know there's future work that's going to be needed. The dentist often will know to give you a consent form because they have to give it to parents naturally anyway. So you will take that consent form and then give it to the caseworker, and caseworker will have parents fill it out. But let's say an emergency situation where a child goes to the emergency room, they need stitches. So in that instance, you can't make that judgment call, right? Because it's considered invasive, even though obviously the child's arm is falling off, they need stitches or something. Knock on wood. In that instance, what you'll do is if you're on the way to emergency room anyway, you should be calling your home supervisor or whoever's on call if it's after hours, and just say, hey, I'm so-and-so. So-and-so is placed with me. I'm taking them to emergency room. I think they need stitches. And so then they'll know to call the caseworker, make attempts to call the caseworker. And you can make attempts to call the caseworker. Of course, after hours, not always successful, right? But as long as we do our due diligence of trying to reach out to the appropriate parties to make that happen while you're taking the kids to the doctor can make that finalized decision if we're not getting back to them in a timely manner. Again, me telling you this does not give you permission to not try to seek consent in the appropriate parties, but it's, you know that the child's needs is going to be taken care of inevitably. The doctor can make that final call. Any questions about that?
Is there ever any paperwork where parents have signed just kind of a general saying that foster parents have the final say or they
No. No, because parental rights are still intact, and that's a huge liability. So much past immunizations and haircuts, we just don't go there. It's case by case.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Dental exam form, I think we already went over that. Vision exam form looks the exact same as the initial exam form. And that's it of the medical stuff. Before we move on to the incident reporting, does anyone have any particular scenarios or concerns that they want to process through real fast?
So I know when you talked to Stacy on the phone, you said a lot of the stuff that applies to foster kids also applies to our biological kids. It's like this type of thing we don't have to do for our biological.
No, that's just in regards to parenting.
Sure.
Like discipline and stuff. Like not forms. You don't have to do that for your own kids. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Other questions? Do we need a quick break before we move on? Everyone need a potty break? Yes? Okay. The men's right here on the opposite side of this weird little center circle thing is the women's. Let's take a 5-minute break. I can collect some of those forms if you guys would like.
Give it to you.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you, sir. Are you going here? Okay, we'll see my first.
So should I wait to turn this in when?
Oh, sure. Yes, I'm sorry.
No,
Yes,
it's
you
fine. I just
definitely
wanted
should
to
wait.
double check. Okay, forgot to mention. And then I have the core one that we did last week. I have the worksheets for that.
Oh,
Should I
great.
turn that into you now?
Yes, that'd be great.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Sorry, it's a little water stained.
No, that's okay. Hey, it works. It's still legible.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll grade this later. Thank you.
Cool.
Do you go by Sandy or Sandra? Sandy. Sandy. I
Yeah.
can't remember that. Because I think I addressed you as Sandra.
It's okay, I don't,
Okay.
it doesn't matter. And some of those forms, I'll put Sandy, and then I think, oh gosh, am I supposed to put my whole?
Yeah, it's fine either way. Yeah. You guys ready to get started? Cool.
Micro workers.
All right, so the last section here is incident reporting. So this first form, we have the actual, what we refer to as the non-critical incident reporting form, but it's just called, in your case, the official incident reporting, because you don't often know if it's critical or non-critical, so that's a judgment call we make on our end of it. So this is to record any kind of incident with a foster child. So if a child gets a bruise, a scratch, even a splinter, in case those things get infected, any kind of injury whatsoever, you want to be able to record it. This is really for your protection. I know it may seem kind of a lot, especially for, I mean, all of you guys pretty much, right, have had little exceptions of Stevens, right, so far. When you get the littles, like, they run into everything. They get bumps and everything. That's kind of normal. It comes with the territory, with toddlers especially. But with these foster kids who come into your home, it's good to document those things. So if you see a bruise on a child, though it may seem repetitive to keep having to document those things, it's really good to do it. Because sometimes when kids go to visits, birth parents have no idea where their kids are. And so they will look at the child and say, why do they have a bruise? What are they doing? Like, they may accuse you guys of abusing them. And so we want to be able to show, if it ever comes to light where a visitation supervisor tells the caseworker, hey, mom saw these bruises on the kid and she was concerned, the caseworker will follow up with the home supervisor, who will then be like, oh yeah, we have incident reports for those. And so we've including you, have done your due diligent effort of documenting to protect you. And so with those, it really never becomes an issue. You know, no matter how many bruises a child may get, in that instance, especially if they just keep running into things. And with the exception of that, though, look over this and let me know if you have any particular questions or concerns about these scenarios. Yeah.
It's just one. What if you notice a bruise and you have no idea how it got there?
Thank you. Yes, everyone asked that. That's great. It happens all the time. So in that instance, you will say, if the child's old enough, you'll ask them, right? But you'll record, say, foster mom noticed the bruise, ask the child where it came from, or if the child can't respond, whatever. Say, don't know where it came from.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yeah.
So this is sort of unrelated, but like upon entrance into our home, are we, I'm going to say required to do sort of a skin assessment? Because
not necessarily, no, you're not. But if you notice things, it's okay to do a quick check as you give them a bath, you know, and you look. And then in that instance, let's say they do come into care with things, you could either ask the caseworker directly or ask us, like, hey, I noticed these bruises on them. Do you know about them? And if they don't, then document it.
Okay.
And that way we have that on file.
Okay.
Let's see. It needs to be turned in within 24 hours because it's important that we get those documentations in a good time frame, right? And it's also important because then this falls back on us to make the judgment call of if there's any need for follow-up action. So let's say a child makes an allegation, even that can be recorded on the incident report, and you want to get that to us as soon as possible so that way we can make the necessary measures, or steps rather, to make sure the parties know, or if the hotline's called, or tell you if there's any follow-up actions you need to do. Does that make sense? And one of the, I'm sorry, did you have a question?
Yeah, popped my mind as
Yeah.
if I can when
Good.
I'm sorry. I was doing
No, that's great.
Are the schools, are they required to do anything once they know a child is in foster
My
care?
understanding is that they do incident reporting naturally, but we don't always get those.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because my kids come home with,
and then they don't do anything.
well, I
right?
didn't know if they, did or did.
And you can often talk to the school too when you register a foster kid, and just kind of explain the situation, and then that way they'll let you know if anything needs to be put on your radar. But in terms of documentation, like if they fall on the playground or something, our foster parents will, I remember seeing incident reports where foster mom will send in one that says, child came home from school with a scratch on knee, foster mom asked child what happened, child said, I don't know, and then that's what you put, or child said they fell on the playground. Yeah. One example that I can give that kind of helps us to know the follow-up that you may not think is, any required follow-up necessary is that if a child hits their head, you are required to take them to go get checked out immediately at urgent care or wherever. Though you may make that own judgment call with your own kids, like, oh, I think they'll be fine, or oh, I'll watch them and see if they're okay. You can't make that with foster kids because they're not your kids, right? Their rights are still intact, and God forbid something happened to them and they got a concussion. We want you to be protected. And so really, and there's a reason why the state has implemented this rule, is because of past incidents like this. And so when a child hits their head, though it may be super frustrating to have to drop everything and go to urgent care once more, you have to do it.
So I'm not trying to be difficult, but
No,
my
it's
1-year-old bumps his head 20 times a day, all the time. He's one.
Yes.
He just
Yeah.
so that's what it every time.
Yeah.
What if you got a helmet?
Great.
You can't just keep him in a helmet.
I know, guys. I know this is one of the harder pills to swallow in all of this, is that head hitting thing, but it's very important that you make that judgment call.
When you say head hitting, you mean like where there's a mark, right?
We've asked that in the past, and because it's such a gray area, there is no solidified answer. So it's just hard to make that judgment call, because something that may not make a mark may cause more damage than we think, like hitting the back of their head and you don't see a mark or something, and that brain going back and hitting the back of the skull is a huge deal. Sorry, I don't have much of a solid answer for you guys in that sense of how to make that determination of when to take them in. That's why we just say take them in. Another thing that's not typically, but sometimes once in a blue moon is an issue that might need to be reported is bites, a bite from an animal. If a cat or a dog is probably more common, not a raccoon. I don't think kids play with raccoons very often. So a dog or a cat, if a baby is learning and they don't know soft touch yet, and a dog turns around and bites them, if they don't break the skin, count your lucky stars. But if they do break the skin, it really is just such a huge deal, because we have to do a critical incident report on our end and then report it to the health department, because that's per the rule. I believe it's the rule or the law. I can't really remember because this is an overall Department of Public Health and Environment, and one of the things on here is animal bites. So obviously it's a state thing in general that you have to report them. And then in that instance, my understanding is that the dog has to be quarantined, or the cat has to be quarantined for a certain amount of time to ensure there's no aggression issues or safety issues that may follow. So in that, it rarely happens, but it's I just want to put it on your radar. Like, if you have animals, who has animals like dogs or cats? Right, you guys do. Are they usually pretty gentle? Your kids pick them up and they're just little floppy whatevers. Like my dog is a jerk. I would never be able to foster with my dog, because even if I walk and I sort of step on his long hair, he will freak out. He won't bite me, but I don't know if he would bite a foster kid. You know what I mean? So I would not be able to do that. And I know a lot of times we kind of talk about that in the front end during our tours, is that we see what kind of animals you have. You guys often are smart and you know what kind of questions to ask, like, hey, we have this dog, so what do we need? Well, we just need vaccines, but You know, are they aggressive? You know, how do they do with kids? Because we will get kids who just don't know how to play with animals. I mean, we don't place kids who like set dogs on fire, but you know, we might have kids who just don't know how to handle animals, and so we just want to be extra safe. So anyway, just putting that on your radar. Some of the other things that need to be reported are on this other sheet here. That's often done by doctors, especially for those diseases or diagnosis. So those things are reported by doctors. Any questions about the incident reporting?
I have a different question.
Yeah.
Like if we have a kiddo that gets sick, do we have to take them in? So like for my kids, if my kids get sick, I'll let them, as long as they're not like super, super sick, I'll let them run a fever for a day or so, you know, and just watch them really closely. And like if they show signs of illness, am I required to take them into the physician?
So with that rule, it's fever. You have to watch the fever. And I'm sorry, I can't remember the number right now. But if they have a fever, you have to take them in.
Okay.
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. Is there any other questions of anything you guys are thinking about before we kind of wrap up and start doing the quiz? Okay. This last little form here, last three, says a working file, right? And then there's like a summary of when, this is just kind of for your record. I mean, like I was telling you, we have a whole auditing department who kind of keeps track of everything with their own forms, which is super great. But this is for your own record, like, oh, this child's initial physical was done then, so that means their yearly one, if they're still with us, will be due this day. So this is just to kind of help you keep track of that kind of stuff in your own list of section paperwork, if that's helpful for you. Okay, any questions? Okay. How many of you guys are just, your brains are melting right now? It's not that bad? Okay. Good. I'm glad. Like I said, you're not required to remember everything. All right, so the next part, so you have your volume 7. That's the other little thick thing that's stapled. Be careful, some of it may poke you, the staple part, because it's so thick and it doesn't staple all the way. But then there's a quiz that kind of goes with it. We're going to do things a little different. We're going to break up into men versus women. And we're going to do like battle of the sex style. And I'm going to read off the questions and you're going to refer back to volume 7. And then I'm giving you guys a whiteboard. So then whoever writes the answer on the board and throws it up first and it's the correct answer gets the point. What do you win? You win pride. So really, it's just kind of a fun way to do this and call it a day and have open discussions, and it'll lead into questions or scenarios you want to talk about. So it's really great to have group discussions in this matter. For those watching online, you are required to circle the correct answer, and this is what you turn in to me for credits. For those attending in class, you're not required to fill it out, but if you guys are those folks who need the filled out form for each class for documentation purposes, assign whoever per couple to fill that out as we go. Does that make sense? Okay? So we'll just break up now, however you want to do it, and determine who wants to fill out the board. Whoever's the quickest writer.
Ladies over here.
Hello.
So I'm going to take pictures.
And Mary, he gets totally like dark right now.
Oh, okay. I'll do this
later.
Okay.
Did you say that doesn't have to like that?
You can be done if you want.
Get through. Who wants to write over here? Yeah? Alright. I'll give you a little paper towel so you can
Oh, look, they all came to me.
Yeah. Wow. You have to go in. Who's the writer over here?
I'll do it.
Okay. So, there are some rules. you can look ahead a little bit, but don't write the answer for the next question. In fact, you have to wait until I finish saying the whole question before you write the answer and throw it up. Because in the past, we've had a lot of
I'm gonna
cheaters.
just be honest, he already got the cheating look on him right now.
The men are usually the ones who cheat.
Mine too.
So, you guys get super competitive. That's all that is. You're ready to win that pride. So, anyway, so you guys will just wait until I finish the question, then throw it up. Okay? Are we ready? Okay. Let me know when you're ready.
Are we ready? So we're taking a quiz before we do the...
Now I'm going to read them out to you, and then once I'm done with the question, throw up the answer. Okay. Number 1, how many foster children can be placed in a foster home? What is that? D? What? Okay, write A, B, C, or D. Okay, they won though. They put 4, so I'm gonna give that point to them. Sorry.
Us girls? Well, you already answered that one, didn't you?
It's number D?
Yes, it's D. Sorry, it's D, guys. It's 4 children. But the exception is if there's a sibling group greater than 4. We once had 2 sibling groups of 9 kids. And we were only able to place 1 group fully together.
That's amazing.
Yes, it was amazing.
Are they still, do you know if they're still on the?
No, they're not in care anymore. Yeah.
Washer dryer for a family who had 9. That's
Oh,
why I thought,
wow.
I wonder if it's found it.
Yeah, no. All right, number 2. How many total children can be in a foster home, including biological, adopted, and foster children?
You can do this together.
B. Women got it. It is 8 children. B. 3. What is the minimum age for foster parents? B. Men threw it up first. It's 21. Number 4. Can a foster parent smoke cigarettes in the house or in close proximity of a foster child?
We both cheated. Everyone had their answer before the question was done.
Yeah, you did. I don't want to give it, but you're both right. It's no, but no one gets the point. Sorry. I'm gonna put wasted point up here. Okay. 5. A foster parent and any person living in the home must complete a physical exam in order to be certified. That's true. Women got it. You guys, as we go along, if I'm reading it too fast and you have questions or something you want to talk about, don't hesitate to stop me, okay? 6. The backyard of a foster home must be fully fenced or have an unfenced yard safety plan.
That was a cheat.
That was a cheat. And that was wrong.
Oh, we're time it better.
Try it. If you erase it and write it again, you get the credit. Okay, women got it. Okay. Number 7? Okay, number 7. If a foster parent owns weapons or firearms or weapons of any kind, they must be secured behind a locked container with ammunition stored in a separate locked container. Oh man, women threw it up first. Sorry. You were so close though, it's like right there. Okay, 8. What is the policy on an unfinished basement in a foster home? When men got it. C. C. All right. What are the requirements if a basement bedroom will be used by a foster child? Men got it. It's B. The bedroom must have more than 1 exit.
Oh, so window and a door. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
a true legal basis. No.
Number 10. There shall be a minimum of blank square feet of space per each child in a bedroom. B. No.
No?
Hey.
We got it right and throw it up. The women got it. Sorry. It's 40, y'all. Where'd you get 50? Did you?
I don't know, I thought I read 50 somewhere.
Oh, okay. All right. That's all right.
What was 80 square feet? I thought I saw that somewhere.
Well, that's like if there's 2 children in the room, there
Is
has
that
there's 8.
outdoor play area maybe or something?
No, I think that might be 70. I believe.
Okay.
I believe. Maybe on the prepare for facility checklist list. Maybe. All right. 11. What does a foster home need in order to have a swimming pool, hot tub, pond, and or a fountain? C. Women got it. All right. What does a foster home need in order to have a trampoline? This one's a bit of a tricky one. C, got it. It's C, safety plan written based on trampoline instructions.
So you don't need to have a net?
Well, not necessarily, no. It's based on the trampoline instructions. A net is, it's highly encouraged per our agency. But what really, the volume 7, read it to me, what does it say exactly? Do you guys have it? Okay. Sorry. I think it says something along the lines of like, it's up to, I'm sorry?
It says if there's a trampoline on the foster home property, safety issue regarding its use must be agreed upon with the foster parents addressed in writing.
Yes, yeah. So that's a little trickier, but
Agree
yeah.
with whom?
Upon the agency and the instructions of the trampoline kind of thing, so.
Okay.
13, the entire premises of a foster home is subject to inspection for certification purposes, including but not limited the home residence, the ground surrounding the home, the basement, the attic, any storage buildings, and garage. So big. Yes, A. Women got it. Okay. 14. They're not too far behind, actually. You guys are tied. So, 14. The foster home must be free of fire hazards and accumulation of non-essential items. A, yes. I saw men's first, sorry. It's true. I hope I'm reading these all to the people online. Okay. 15, what is the policy on the use of well water rather than city water in a foster home? B, men got it.
So, question, with the PFC thing that was going on in Fountain, like if you do test your water and it's found to be like out of compliance or there's something wrong, then what?
Well, I think it's in that, like, the city water, that was the issue, right? They sent out, so with city water, it's what, you're right, it would be whatever the news would tell you, like, what is that city zoning recommendation. So we had a family actually in that area, and we told them they have to be drinking bottled water, which are like, yeah, duh, you know, so this is more like well water.
Right, but so there's no stipulations in it. Like, if you hear something that you have to go do it,
No, you need
hopefully
to.
for your health you would.
Yes, you need to, for sure. We definitely kind of reinforce that from our end of it. But that's kind of like a case-by-case thing. Wait. Oh, 16. A foster child can be in the care of an uncertified adult if... Women got it, it's D. All of the above.
It was a team effort.
Nice, guys. I mean, women. Sorry, I'm so used to saying guys. My southern folks would be so disappointed in me right now. All right, 17. If a foster child needs overnight care, nope, not it. What's that?
D.
Yeah, you got it. It's D. D. Yeah.
I couldn't read through all of it fast enough. But the individual has to be like certified, right?
No, they don't actually.
They don't?
So they can provide, so it says here must be in another certified home, right? Or Hope and Home approved individual with the proper paperwork, background checks can do it in your home, and they must be 21 or older. That's a Hope and Home standard.
Okay.
So technically, like, let's say you had a
okay.
sister who's 21,
Right.
she can come stay in your home and watch foster kids overnight, and we just need background checks and CPR first aid certification, and a couple of little minor things. Any other questions before we move on? Okay, 18. A foster child cannot be placed in respite care for more than blank consecutive days a month and cannot exceed blank days in a calendar year. C, women threw it up first. All right, it's C, y'all. 19, outdoor activity must be made available to each foster child each day, weather permitting. A, women got that. Sorry, Garrett, you gotta be. Do what? What are you guys laughing at over there?
Saturday watching movies, I guess not. Okay.
Weather permitting. Okay, 20. A foster child must be provided with 2 sheets and 1 blanket. Bedding should be changed or washed at least every other week. No. That's a trick question. Yeah. It's B. Yeah. I mean, that was kind of like a process of elimination to the easiest, but yes, it's actually 2 sheets and 1 blanket, and it's every week. It's what Volume 7 says.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's a little tricky, That's more than I do for my own. It's probably good because sometimes kids are stinky and, they may wet the bed.
Change more often than that.
Yeah. All right, 21. Under what age can a foster child stay in a parent's master bedroom in their own crib? C, women got it. It's 18 months, y'all. 22. Any child in the home cannot share a bedroom with the opposite sex if they are over the age of 4. It's true, yeah. Okay. A bedroom, number 23, a bedroom for a child under the age of 5 shall be in close proximity to the foster parent's bedroom. A. Men, I saw that first. Men. So with that being said, this often presents question with our families who are considering placing a kid in a different room, and maybe the room is on a different level and they're under the age of 5. So we've got verification from the state that in their interpretation of close proximity is actually on the same level as the foster parent's bedroom. Okay. 24. How many children under the age of 2 can reside in a foster home? This includes biological. Yes, you're right. It's B. This includes biological, adopted, and foster kids. The exception to that is, I'll give you an example. You had a home who had 1 kid under the age of 2, and then a sibling group of 2 kids under the age of 2 desperately needed placement for them. Could not find anywhere else in El Paso County, so we placed them there because they were willing to take them. We just, on our end, did a waiver. The other exception, obviously, is if you have a kid and they come with twins or triplets or something, you get a placement call for those. So, all right, 25. Infants must be held during all bottle feedings. Men threw it up first. A. All right, 26. What is the policy on potty training a child in foster care? B. Yes. Okay. 27. If a foster child's preferred religion is different than yours, you must provide opportunity and assistance for involvement in the religious practice of their choosing. A. I feel like you guys wrote that before I even finished. Both of you.
I think so too. I just think the guys did.
No, I think you did too.
I'm watching them.
I'm giving that as a wasted point. I'm sorry. I just don't feel good about that. All right, 28. A foster child may be invited to join the foster family in attending church. However, they must never be forced or coerced. A.
I waited. You were done.
You did, but that was so funny how you did it. Okay, it's A. All right, 29. A foster child must receive permission from biological family or guardian to participate in any religious ceremonies such as baptisms and dedications. True. And I saw it first. I'm sorry, I saw it first on the men's. All right, 30. Efforts should be made to involve a foster child in extracurricular activities at school and in the community. Men, sorry, women. Sorry. I think he found his method finally. Okay. Good. 31, a Hope and Home family with foster children. Oh, this is worded differently on y'all's. We just realized after we printed yours it was wrong, so sorry. But basically what it's saying is a Hope and Home family with foster children placed with must make reasonable efforts to involve them in activities at Hope and Home. True or false? True. Women got it. True. I mean, this is, you guys, like, I know we kind of talked about this on our tour, and it seems like a fluffer kind of thing, a plus, but it's a huge part of our culture that you come to these events and you make the foster kids part of these events, okay? Hey, Ross.
Hey, how's your group going?
It's good. We're doing Battle of the Sexes quiz.
You guys usually do.
No, they don't. They're rocking it. They're just, I'm pretty proud.
They usually lose.
I was going to say we're bad cheaters because I think we're losing.
We always lose.
Oh, no. Well, yeah, you are, actually. It's okay.
What class is it?
Huh?
What class?
This is Core 2.
Which is what?
All the Volume 7 rules and regulations. So this is how I get them not to fall asleep. Yeah. Okay, 32. You cannot assign chores to any child in foster care. False. No, that does not work, Garrett. You cannot do. No. You just wrote all the. That's the first. You're getting pretty creative. Okay. 33. At least blank nourishing, well-balanced meals a day should be provided to foster children, and no more than blank hours shall elapse between evening and morning meals. You wrote it before I was finished.
I didn't. I wish you did.
I'm pretty sure. I was watching you.
Here you go.
We're still right and they're not.
What'd you put?
C.
Oh, it's like a B. That's a B.
That looks like a B to me. That's a. Sorry, women get it. Dang, that was like wide open. All right, 34. Nourishing snacks should be made available in addition to meal times. True. Women got it. All right, 35. If a foster child does not want to eat the food provided at a meal, at least one more option should be presented. True. Yes. So with that, we often get a lot of, what's the word, pushback on it. That doesn't mean like if you bake chicken, then you have to go bake a pork chop or something. You know what I mean? Like mac and cheese or something easy like a corn dog, you know. Food insecurity is real with these kids with trauma, and it's not a battle worth fighting, and it's a whole training topic you'll go through when you get certified to kind of help you with understanding and to know different approaches with these kids. And oftentimes, you know, kids, this is a rule for a reason, and so when kids come from a different environment, like let's say a corn dog, they're having a rough day, they were bullied at school, maybe you don't know that, and they come home and you've slaved away on chicken all day, you just prepare this beautiful meal, and then the kid just tells you, I don't want the chicken, can I just have a corn dog? And maybe that's like a trigger for them, or like a comfort food for them, because maybe the one time that their birth mom showed them any kind of love is when they made them a corn dog and they were singing in the kitchen and they were super happy that day. And so presenting a corn dog as an option, I mean, obviously nutritional balance is important, but we want them to be secure in your home first.
So I know you had mentioned that all of these rules also apply to like our biological children. So even this one?
No, not all these rules apply to your biological children. No.
Okay.
Nope.
I misunderstood that.
No, the things that apply to both are like the spaces, like the 40 square feet per child if they're sharing a room with one of your kids. Discipline across the board.
That applies to both.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. And let's see. Then there's obviously like any kind of reward. It's okay. I'm sorry. Like doodles?
I'm a nurse. Should I go? Is she okay?
Yeah, she's probably okay. I mean, if you want to go check on her, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, I'll go.
Yeah.
Let's ask some questions while they're gone.
That's that over here. Cheater, pumpkin eater.
We're down like 2 people.
Yes, you are. You're almost even. Because they were up by 1. You guys were up by 1. You guys were down by 1. Do you guys want to continue on?
The food, are the kids allowed to make requests? And if they do, or do you have to abide by them? Like you said.
No, it's just kind of one of those things like,
if you know
what do you want to do in your home? You know what I mean? Like, if they have requests and you feel like you can accommodate those things, like if it's not something crazy, like I want fondue every night, that kind of, whatever you decide. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll wait a couple minutes. So let's see, so far, seriously? I thought the men weren't. You guys are behind a bit. That base.
Here's the thing, we value quality over speed. So
oh, I like it. Quality over speed. It's because you guys are really taking in the answers and you're listening and you're really. It's funny. Okay.
So, you know how you were talking about that fire safety plan?
Uh-huh.
Did you see that story recently where the little 2-year-old, there's a fire and the dad called 911, gave it to, I think he was 2, he was little, and went to go try to put the fire out or do something, and the kid had a safety plan. He talked to the 911 operator and got the baby, went across the street to their little spot where they had agreed upon, and then the dad started to panic because he didn't know where his kids were. And he remembered, I wonder if he was outside, and sure enough, the little boy was just talking away to the 911 operator with the baby in his hand. And
That's
maybe
precious.
He was 5. He was really young though. But
wow.
yeah.
That's impressive. That's great. That'll be your kid.
Probably the ones that got the 10, 40.
Your 1-year-old. Your 1-year-old carrying your 3-year-old or something. I don't know. Is she okay?
Yeah, her sugar was just really low, so they were getting
Okay.
glucose.
We'll go ahead and
Dad's
we'll get
watching.
started.
Oh yeah, she's good.
Yeah. It's probably good that you said that. Yeah, Scott, she's good. She's good. They're just checking our numbers. You can call her if you want. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Where are we at? We are 36. A foster home cannot serve home canned food. True or false? It's true. Cannot. Why? Can you guys answer that?
Well, there's no regulating nutrition.
And then what's the biggest disease that's associated with? Yes. I feel like you should. I feel like that's good. That's pretty good. Yes.
Why would you can't food? That's too much.
All right, 37. It is acceptable for foster children to share clothing with other children of the same size in the foster home as long as the clothing is washed after each use. What is that? I can't read it. I'm sorry. It's so light. No.
Looks like an O. Sorry.
B. Oh, I got it. So that's a little tricky because it looks like just in general. What it's saying in volume 7 is that you can't just have like one wardrobe for 2 different 12-year-olds and call it a day. But if they have their own wardrobe and they want to like share clothes, they can do that. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. 38. It is a foster family's responsibility to provide transportation to all medical appointments, therapy appointments, and visitation appointments. True. That's per your contract that you sign whenever you officially get certified through Hope and Home. 39. Each foster parent is required to complete blank hours of ongoing training each certification year. B. Yes. It's 20. It's 20.
And you guys get 24 here, don't you?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So we give you a little leeway to miss a couple of groups. Actually, technically 22 because we don't do support groups in July or December.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, where are we at? Oh, 40, last one. Training on emergency and safety procedures should be completed blank each consecutive or each certification year. Both wrong. It's twice a year. Yeah, women got it. Twice a year. Yes, so that's something that gets covered on our end. We make sure you get that. That's it. So right now we are like 14 men, women 25. Woo! So guys, this is it. This is all our class. So hopefully it wasn't too bad. If you guys think of any questions after you leave tonight, don't hesitate to give me a call. I'd be happy to help you through something. Okay? Thank you guys for watching online. I am tuning you out now.
Do we have to turn this in to you?
No, you keep that for your record. You've signed in on the sheet, so that's just, but let's see, who?
We did. Yay, go girls.
Yeah,
Is she okay? Yeah, it's my other one. She's type 1 diabetic, and her alarm went off. She was in severe hypoglycemia. So we got her some ice cream, and she's